get one strand that wants to get way out of hand. So I like to make sure they're all basically even in the loop, so that way I get a better grip on it when I go to ventilate. You can tell when that happens when you go to grab a couple of strands of hair to ventilate and it pops out of the loop because this one's too short and that one's too long, and so forth and so on. So that's when you correct that situation. Like that. See how that just barely split away from the rest? That's because they're shorter. So you just pull that up, so that way it's kind of matching the strand. And then if you have a strand that's entirely too long, just pull that out, match it up to the length of the average strand in the bundle, loop it, twist it, and then continue on. I used to wet the hair to do this. Now I just knot the hair, wet the entire wig, give it a nice, tensioning pull, and continue on. Same effect. The knots get tighter once it dries. But I don't have wet hands the entire time I'm doing it because I'm not starting with wet hair. It also makes it easier when it's time to sew the knots. So I don't have to worry about it's wet, it's not gonna work. If I sew the knots on the hair once it's dry, then the knot sealer is the only moisture, and it does the same thing. Once it starts drying, it has the effect of tightening the knots permanently into place. It's about 8 o'clock in the morning. I'm waiting on the bricks trial to start. I was awake. It's not time for breakfast yet. I couldn't get back to sleep, so I just grabbed my ventilation and started working on it. Yeah. I just split that knot. Sometimes I split knots on purpose, like in the hairline area, but I don't want to split knot in the back, because that's where you usually do a lot of combing. So the last thing you want is a knot that's fragile. There we go. I mean, the back is where I do my tension knots. Even if I'm doing a single knot or a double knot, I'm going to add tension so that way it knots tighter, which makes a more durable connection to the place. Yeah. I had pre-prepped my sections like this. Became several of these. So that way all I gotta do is grab a loop and go. In fact, this one was this thick when I started, and as you can tell, I'm almost done with that section. Like boom, attached to the wig already. And this, I believe, is day 15 or 16. Still got a ways to go, but I'm not in a rush. I'll just pop that one. Need to recoat this mannequin head. It's a canvas wannabe, so the material's actually knitted. So I coated it so that way my tool don't go through the little knit portions. And that was about 5 years ago. But now the coating is starting to lift up, so it's time to recoat it. It's not going through the material, but I can see every now and then some of the coating itself lifts up. That gets caught in the wig, all I gotta do is brush it out. But yeah, if I recoat it, I don't have to worry about that, happening at all. Because I just find it slightly annoying. Yeah. That section's almost done. I'll show you my work in a minute. Hey. What'd I do with the comb? I'll just comb through that when I find it. Got that loop too big. There we go. Loop size is a personal preference. Some people like a big loop. Some people like it as close as possible. I like it somewhere in the middle. As long as I could grip it securely, twist and go. You know, if it's too close, it cramps my hand. If it's too loose, I lose control of the strand every now and then, which is just annoying. So find your middle ground. And of course, that's constantly being readjusted because every time you grab a strand of hair from the loop, it changes the tension and how much is in your hand because of, you know, the fact that you're working with it. So you have to adjust that a lot. This is part of the process. And when you're almost out of hair, the hair previous that's next to the hook or the ventilation tool, that lifts up a lot too. There we go. I don't go through every little hole in the lace grid. I do mark off. I do mark off sections that I'm working on, but basically I just kind of freestyle it. If it looks close to the section that I was working on, then that's a good place to put a hole or a little strand of hair in the hole. That section's almost done. In a second, I'll show you what I got. And then I'm going to find that comb so I can comb it out. I always like combing it after the end of each section, so that way if there's any knots that's not tight enough or whatever, those come right out, and then all I'm left with is the strong knots. Yeah. Usually the only ones that would come out under those circumstances is, you know, like a very short strand of hair. what I used to call an edge piece. Must be a cloud. Those are not. Yeah, we want to knot the hair onto the ventilating lace. We do not want to ventilate knots in. So, yeah. It'll be a smooth transition every time. There's one last strand of hair. See, this is why I wear gloves. That way, nothing can get caught on my nails. But I'm not wearing gloves today because, well, I just basically woke up and decided to start working on it. And now it's almost breakfast time, and I'm thinking with my stomach. But that's the section I just did. And as I get done with each section, I just kind of braid it or twist it out the way. So that way I can go to the next section. That's my process. Yeah. So this has been P+7 on Twitter and YouTube, P+elsewhere on Twitter. My soaps located Purple Butterfly Soaps. .myshopify.com, my blog, PurpleButterfly P+.blogspot.com. There's to come. Y'all stay blessed and stay tuned. Oh, and somebody asked me about this. I have it's basically a garbage bag that I cut in half. So that way, well, cut the sides up so that way I have a long piece of plastic, so that way when I'm done working I put all my supplies there and I just kind of roll the whole thing up. That gives me a safe place and a safe method to store it. The section I'm working on is in there. The canvas blockhead is in there. The only thing that's not in there was the comb, because I use that to actually do my own hair too. And it also keeps all those little stray hairs. I mean, I don't have to do like this at the end of a session because there's no stray hair all over my bed or all over my clothes. It's all contained in I call it my lace wrap. I need to come up with a better name for it, but basically that's what I do. I use that to wrap up the lace wig in process. So, yeah, but that's why you see a garbage bag there. In previous videos from way back when, somebody said, "Why are you sitting on a black garbage bag?" Same reason, but that wasn't actually a garbage bag. It was a Lane Bryant bag because, well, I go shopping a lot, and it was a grayish bag from when I got a delivery. And I said, this is the perfect size. I just split it up the side and, did that, and that was perfect. And it's like, why not think of that before? That was actually the first time I thought of that. And then the next time it was the black Lane Bryant bag, and I used that for almost a year until life happens and I needed to use that bag for something else. So then I just took a garbage bag that I wasn't going to need anyway, and that was that. And this is all the hair that I had left of that section. And it's no longer facing all in, one way, because basically it got discarded. And as you can tell, that was the only part. I'm not doing this all over my bed. So that works. But in the meantime, this is, shall we say, non-Remy, because it's not going all in one direction anymore, which means it's going to go over here. I have this little container of extra hair. When I'm done with that, basically, I comb it all out and make a new section. But it's not going to be used on this wig unless it's like around the hairline or put through the hackle, so I can ascertain exactly which one's going which direction and take it back to being Remy. Because when you have hair that's going two different directions, you're going to have a tangle when it's time to wash it and all that. Whereas if everything's going the same way, then when you comb it, you get smooth hair, because that's the way human hair is. Okay. Good example. If you go like this with your hair, it's smooth, or at least it should be. If you try to go the opposite direction, it's going to frazzle, because hair cuticles go in one direction. So that's also why you only loop a 2-inch section of the return hair, because you want to loop enough where you can knot it. And if you could get it done in a smaller section than 2 inches, that's great. I average about 1.5 inches, because at the end of the day, when it comes time to comb through and everything, if you decide to comb the opposite direction and you see all those little short hairs, you could trim that off. That gets rid of your return, so that way your wig is smooth and you don't have to worry about, it's snagging every time you comb it. Okay, I'm going to give you a good example using my own hair. Probably going to regret it. But you see that? It combs the same direction. But if I try to go the other way, you see that knot that just made? Otherwise known as teasing it. Because tease hair, as you can tell, tangles. That's been a design method and a styling method for some people for years. Their idea of styling hair is to tease it into this big old mess. But, they style it that way. They don't tell you when you leave the salon, now you got to comb through that mess. Well, if you're creating a full lace wig, the last thing you want is a teased up mess, because one strand competed with another strand and both of them lost because it made a tangle. Yeah. So this has been People7 on Twitter and YouTube, People elsewhere on the internet. My soaps located PurpleButterfly-soaps.myshopify.com, my blog PurpleButterfly-people.blogspot.com. Thank you for joining me on my morning ventilation. I'm finna go watch the trial, eat some breakfast, get my day started, and you guys stay blessed, stay safe. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Bye now.